Right, it's sacking season. Steve Cooper becomes the second Premier League manager to be sacked this season after Sheffield United sacked Paul Heckingbottom earlier in the month. Was this the right decision to be made, and is this the right time as well? It's really tough to tell because Nottingham Forest is currently in 17th place. They're 5 points off the relegation zone, but however, you do have to take into account Luton did have that match abandoned against Bournemouth, so if they play another game or not, it remains to be seen. But they're only 2 points off Everton, 3 points off Crystal Palace, 5 points off Bournemouth, Wolves and Brentford. I think the Everton one is a bit of a false position because if they didn't have the point deduction, Everton would be in the top half of the table at the moment. But only 3 points off Crystal Palace, 5 points off Wolves, Brentford and Bournemouth, who at times, Bournemouth and Wolves, people have been saying they're relegation candidates as well. So did Steve Cooper deserve the sack? It's really tough to tell, and I'm going to give you a solid answer, but I just want to explore for a second. 3 wins all season from 17 games. Is that enough? Realistically, I don't think so. If the teams that are brought on the table in the relegation zone, the new ones newly promoted this year, if they had better teams, were playing better, had better managers, they would have more points than they currently do at this moment in time. Because if you average out Nottingham Forest's points over the course of the season, they'd be on course for 32 points after 38 games. And in a better season, where it's more competitive at the bottom, that would not be enough. That simply would not be enough, and Nottingham Forest would get relegated. So if you're basing it only on this season, I can see why the owners of Forest have decided to sack Steve Cooper. However, I do think that the timing is harsh. I think because of the fact that he got the club promoted, he kept them in the league last season, where at times it did look like it was going to be difficult and they would go back down. So for that on its own, I think he deserves a lot of credit, and I think that should give him more time than I think he had. Winless in the last 7, 3 wins in 4 months. It is not good for Steve Cooper and ultimately did cost him his job. I think 5 draws is the thing that kind of hampers him. I think some of those games in which they lost, they could have drawn, or those they drew, they could have won. I think most notably in my head, the one that sticks out is the loss away at Old Trafford against Man United. The fact that they went 2-0 up so early on, I did think that there was a game they really should have gone and won. And I think they drew against Luton earlier as well in the season, in which they were 2-0 up and they just threw it away. It has been like that for Forest this season. They have been playing some really good football at times, really attacking football at times, despite the fact that they have injuries to key players such as Callum Hudson-Odoi and Tyrell Rooney, who's obviously the top goal scorer. And players had to come up and step into that squad, and they have done a decent job. But I think, that defence has been leaky, and it's been far too leaky, and it's been costing them, and it's really been costing them at times, and sometimes they're attack counter for that. So I do think maybe it was the right decision. The fact that Nottingham Forest already won 3 games this season, at home to Sheffield United on the 18th of August, away to Chelsea on the 2nd of September, and then at home against Aston Villa on the 5th of November. I mean, the Aston Villa one was very impressive, despite the fact that, Aston Villa were doing incredibly well at the moment, and have still been doing incredibly well since then. But from the 2nd of September to the 5th of November, there's the whole of October you didn't win a game, Nottingham Forest fans, and the whole of September on from the 2nd. I think it was the right decision, and I think it was actually a proactive sacking, if you could call it that. I don't think there's ever a right time to sack a manager. And I honestly think that, Steve Cooper has earned the right to be given more of a chance than he has had. I think managers have been doing a better job and have been sacked. But I do think that he deserved the match at home against Bournemouth. Bournemouth, who at one point under looked like they could be in real trouble, but now 5 points clear. I think he did deserve that match at home against Bournemouth. But I can understand the fact that the owners can maybe look at it and go, right, Bournemouth, 4 wins in the last 5, one of the form teams in the league at this moment in time. Nottingham Forest, very much the opposite, not one of the form teams, one of the worst teams in the league at this moment in time. So is the team going to perform better under a new manager, or just knowing the fact that the current manager, Steve Cooper, has been sacked? And I can understand that, because if Bournemouth did win that game against Forest, then I think, then the mountain starts to climb. Luton could pick up some points, and all of a sudden you're looking behind your shoulder and you don't want to be doing that. I do think that, with Nuno Espírito Santo coming in, he's now got the match. He's got Bournemouth obviously on Saturday. He's got Newcastle away on the 26th, and he's got Manchester United on the 30th of December. I do think that if you were to wait until the Bournemouth match and then wait for that result, say Nottingham Forest lost that match to Bournemouth, and then all of a sudden you've got those 3 games in the space of 7 days, in the space of 4 days between Newcastle and Man United. That's not enough time for a new manager to come in and really get an assessment of his squad and make a decision. At least if you sack him Now, before Bournemouth, you've at least got maybe about 10 days with the squad before the January transfer window opens. You then have the FA Cup game against Blackpool at home, which you'd be expected to win on the 7th of January. And then you don't have another Premier League game until the 20th of January against Brentford away, which is the game that you should be looking to try and win that game. But I think it was fair, unfortunately, for Steve Cooper, and I think he has to go. Is Nuno the right man to take his place? It's a very interesting appointment because if this was Nuno who was at Wolves, I think his stock was really, really high at the moment in time. Obviously 4 years he spent with Wolves, he got them promoted from the Championship, 2 consecutive 7th place finishes in the Premier League, nothing to be scoffed at whatsoever, and he got them to quarterfinal of the Europa League as well in one season. So that was very impressive. However, his time at Spurs in 2021 was less than impressive. Obviously, he took over at a difficult time after Jose Mourinho, and I think, we also what happened, he got sacked within 3 months, and I think that job was a bit too big for him. I think that the fact that he wasn't really the personality either to take that job, and that's one of the things that I have a problem with him taking over Nottingham Forest. It's a very uninspiring managerial choice, if we're being completely honest. And I think it's one where it doesn't give Forest fans a lot of confidence. I don't think it does. But I do think there's a possibility of he can come in and he can do a perfectly good job. I mean, if he can get Nottingham Forest in the top 10, I mean, no one will be complaining that Steve Cooper got the sack and, Nuno's done a fantastic job. I'm not sure how long he'll be there, if I'm being completely honest, because I can see a situation in which he is sacked by the end of the season because he's done a terrible job. But I can also see a situation in which, he's an outside shout for manager of the year because of the fact that he's taken Forest on a tremendous run. And I don't know which one it's going to be. It's going to be really interesting to see which one it is. But I think this is the level that Nuno can really thrive at, Spurs with a difficult job because of the fact that everything that's gone on before, the fact that they've gone away from the sacking Pochettino, then going Mourinho, but Mourinho didn't work. I think that was a difficult job at the moment in time, and I think if he maybe was coming on the back of Conte, it might have been a better job to take. But then also at Al Ittihad, the Saudi Arabian team, it didn't sound good from the rumours of it. Obviously, I didn't watch a single game. I won't lie, I didn't watch a single game. I haven't watched a single game of the Saudi Arabian League. But the fact that, he wasn't there too long, and the fact that, the rumours that he'd fallen out with the dressing room, with some of the big players that they had signed over the summer, and then to get the sack from that job, I think it doesn't bode well. It doesn't look good on CV, and if you're hearing that, then, it wouldn't fill you with confidence. However, he has got the job now. He's a manager who knows the Premier League. He won't necessarily need too much time to adapt to the language or the country or the way the league plays. And, he has the potential to really elevate Nottingham Forest to the next level. So I think it's going to be exciting to see what happens. I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on Nottingham Forest going forward. I think this is inevitable how it's going to play out. I think the fact that he might do right for a period of time and eventually he'll have a dip in form and then he'll get sacked. And I think that's the issue. I think it's not very inspiring, but he has the potential to do a good job. We'll just have to wait and see if he does it or not. Nottingham Forest fans, let me know what you think. 5 points off the relegation zone. Do you think this was a proactive sacking in terms of Nottingham Forest, or do you think this is one where, Steve Cooper should have been given a bit more time? Let me know.